Nice to meet you, Caleb. How much silver did I just get?
7!
Woo! You want a donut this morning? It's a little more stale in the bag, I have to let you know.
I think I'm fine.
I don't think I've seen you eat anything other than pastries.
I really like that.
I'm kind of concerned for your well-being.
Have you always been an artist?
I have actually. I've been an artist since I was little.
That's what they look like, I can tell. That is
I've seen a lot of them.
Chester, were you like laughing to yourself last night? It's like kind of obnoxious.
Sorry. So the traveler taught me how to make myself look like other people, right?
Okay.
So I made myself look like my mom, and then I lured him out onto our balcony, and he was wearing nothing but like this girdle of hers. And then I locked the door. We're pirates.
I know. Your tenacity is impressive.
But we stole things, but they gave something back just like you always teach, you know?
Maintain that balance. That seed of chaos. As long as you continue to be that wonderful little seed of joy and chaos in the world. I'll be walking behind you the entire time.
not jealous, are you?
No,
You'll always be my number one love.
I know.
Traveler, I'm glad you're here.
I'm never far.
How about now? There we go. Good morning, stream. How we doing? Howdy doody do this. Alrighty. Good morning, Yasya. How we doing today? Well, today I'm starting with some back-end website stuff, and then we are finishing the audiobook edit of Weremage. So exciting times all around. Very exciting. Okay, that's website shit taken care of.
Chapter 43. When Lauren could rise at last, she went to Chet's side and tried to hold him. But
Gotta use the restroom super quick, and then we will be right back. All right, PRB. Ooh. Okay. Oh boy. Here we go. Finish this dang audiobook. Ever tried Audacity? I don't like Audacity. I have tried Audacity. I learned audio on Pro Tools. So Pro Tools is my gold standard. Nothing has ever compared to Pro Tools. And when I switched to Audacity, when I tried Audacity, the level, like, it doesn't operate the same way Pro Tools does to such an extent that I can't hack it. I can't handle it. It's in a lot of ways very limited compared to Pro Tools. And Audition also doesn't operate like Pro Tools exactly, but they're more similar because Audition was Adobe trying to make an audio program like Pro Tools. So there's enough crossover that I was more comfortable with it. But if I could get a proper Pro Tools rig at some point in the future, I absolutely would. Although hopefully I won't be doing my own audiobooks in the future either, so. Pro Tools is it's the industry standard for a reason. It's amazing. But like, I learned in a sound studio with a full Pro Tools rig, you know what I mean? It's obviously very different, and I know that. But it's what it's what I learned on. I miss that job.
Chapter 43. When Lauren could rise at last, she went to Chet's side and tried to hold him, but he recoiled from her touch, pushing her away and shaking his head. So she merely sat by his side, trying not to look at the stranger who lay dead before her. In time, Chet's tears subsided, and he rose to his feet. Lauren stood, too, if more slowly, and together they made their way back towards the camp. They did not bury the body. Lauren could scarcely bear looking at it, and asking Chet to touch it was out of the question. Annis and Jem saw at once that something was wrong, but when they asked, Chet only shook his head and went into his tent. Lauren told them nothing she did not have to, only that Naya had been auntie all along, and that she had attacked them, and now was dead. From the moment he heard the Weremage's name, Jem's face went pale, and his eyes wide.
"Dead?"
he whispered.
"Are you certain?"
"Yes," said Lauren quietly. His look grew distant, and he turned from her. In a moment he, too, vanished into his tent, leaving Annis and Lauren standing there, staring at each other, not knowing what to do, or even where to begin. That night Lauren ate a meager meal. Afterwards she went to the tent she shared with Chet. Something compelled her to stop a pace away from it. She stared at the flap for a long while, and then she turned from it, and slept in the tent that had once been Naya's. And slept in the tent and slept in the tent that had once been Naya's. That had once been Naya's. Uzo and Shiun returned the next day. Lauren was hardly surprised when they told her that Damaris had ridden south with too many guards for them to engage. So little had gone well for their party this far in the mission that this latest lack of success seemed almost expected. In turn, she had to tell them the tale of what had happened with Auntie. They listened in shock, and when they learned that Naya had been the Weremage all along, they shook their heads in disbelief. Then, looking at each other in silent agreement, they set off into the jungle towards the path that Lauren had described. When they returned from burying her, the dark look in their eyes spoke volumes of how shaken they were. They had not buried their companion and captain, a mystic. They had seen an utter stranger, and only Lauren's word told them that she had once been their sister in arms. "We should ride south when we can," said Shiun, after they had eaten a silent meal together around a small fire. "I can follow Damaris easily enough, but the trail may grow cold, and it certainly will once she reaches Dorsey." Lauren thought for a moment. "We will spend one more night here," she said at last. "One more night." She said at last. "One more night of rest, for the toll has been great. On all of us." She looked across the camp. Chet still had not emerged from his tent. From his tent. The next morning dawned gray and cold, and a light rain began to fall. Lauren went a little ways off from the camp and sat on a fallen tree, face turned upwards, letting the water wash away the sweat and the dirt and the horror of the last few days. She sensed that the rest of them feared to disturb her, just as she herself feared to disturb Chet. But eventually Annis came out to her and waited, hands clasped in front of her, until Lauren met her gaze. "Shiun says we must go. The rain makes it ever more urgent that we begin the hunt, lest we lose Damaris's trail." "Of course," said Lauren quietly. Said Lauren. Said Lauren quietly. "I will rouse Chet." "He is awake and readying himself to leave," said Annis. Lauren shot to her feet and pushed past Annis to run for the camp. She came to a halt where the horses were tied up. Chet stood there, securing his pack to the saddle. He looked at her without smiling and nodded. "We are riding south," she said, not sure what else to tell him. "Damaris has gone towards Dorsey. I know," he said. Annis explained. "Let us get on with it." He turned away and resumed readying himself for the journey. Lauren ducked her head, and after a moment walked past him to take down Naya's tent. Her tent now, she supposed. Soon they had mounted, and Shion led them through the jungle towards the main road. Once there, they increased their pace to a steady trot and made their plodding way south. The jungle stayed thick on both sides of them as they passed the town of Serafu, and long after, so that for many...
Hey, what's up, Jim? Good to see you. Jim is le editor of the audiobooks. Come on.
And long after, so that for many hours they could see nothing but the trees on either side of them. Then the trees fell away, and they came to a lip in the land, from which it spilled down a long, long way towards a great basin. The western rim was the Great Rock Mountains, and a wide river formed the eastern side.
Mostly, Jim, I just catch tongue clicks that probably don't bother anybody else but drive me absolutely crazy. And then I just format the files. I also listen along to make sure that, like, I didn't forget a sentence or something like that. Did you know that in this book, twice I said the wrong fucking name? A totally wrong name in a sentence or in a dialogue tag. One was a sentence of dialogue, and one was a dialogue tag. And so I had to pop into the booth and re-record them.
They themselves stood on the northern lip, and where it ended in the south, the jungle gave way to a sparsely wooded land of light brown.
See, there's this click right here, and probably nobody cares, but it's a total bugbear of mine.
Sparsely wooded land of light brown dirt. Yeah, that's the main thing that I do, honestly, is I just listen while reading along.
That is the border of Dorsey, said Shion. Damaris rides south, no doubt hoping to evade us, as well as Cal's host, which still marches west. She will not succeed, said Lauren quietly. We will capture her. I swear it.
There was no longer any question of whether they should continue to pursue the merchant or return to Cal. She knew without asking that every one of them would not have turned back, not for all the gold in all the 9 kingdoms. Still they did not ride on, but only sat upon their horses, looking down at the lush land as the falling rain soaked it. The day was winding towards evening, and Lauren knew they should be pressing on as quickly as they could. Damaris would not slow for anything, not until she believed herself to be safe. But still she hesitated, and after a time she glanced at Chet.
Go ahead,
she murmured to the others.
We will be with you in a moment.
The party obeyed without comment, and soon she and Chet were alone on the road. But he did not look at her, not even when he broke his silence at last.
I do not care if you understand why I did it or not,
he said.
Yet I do understand,
she said quietly. He snorted.
Do you? I was not so forgiving when you showed Zane leniency in Dorsey. It is as you said. That was different, and I was wrong to gainsay you when it came to Auntie.
Chet turned his face away from her.
You may say it, you know.
Oh, that'd be awesome, Jim. I'd love to hear him.
You may tell me I am a hypocrite. I scorned you, though it was not even your hand that held the knife. It has been a long journey, but I am not ready to take that step,
said Lauren.
Yet I no longer look with disdain on those who do. I still think justice should come from the law and from the king's servants who deal in it. But there is not always time. And you did serve the law, Chet. I know that.
She reached across the space between them and put a hand on his shoulder, but he shied away from her touch.
I cannot,
he whispered.
Please. I still see. I see her. I'm sorry.
You have nothing to apologize for, she told him, feeling tears brim in her eyes. She blinked them away.
Never. Not to me.
A moment longer she waited, until he turned his face forwards again and nodded. Then she spurred Midnight into a walk, and Chet followed just behind. The sun neared the horizon, heralding the approach of night, as she led him down the long road into the lowlands.
My wife. Want to say hi to stream?
What smells in here?
Coffee?
It's like candy, though. It's got like
Candy coffee.
It's got this like, almost like one of those vapes that are fruity.
I'm insulted now.
Something like hard fruit candy or butterscotch. Butterscotch. I need coffee.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. The smell is amazing.
Okay.
Hi, Street.
It's definitely the weirdest entrance you've ever had.
Oh, that's not true. We can think of a weirder one.
I said weird, not... You are... What is happening?
We need to get you new headphones.
I know. Okay, all right. Family friendly. Family friendly. Megan Robinson.
I am your family, and I'm very friendly.
Way too friendly. Oh, that feels so good. Ooh. Ow. You're making it very hard to click on things. Oof.
What are you working on? Oh, sound editing.
Last
Or-
chapter of Weremage. Oof.
You know what they call that in the industry.
Set editing.
I think these things constantly in conversations, and I blame you.
Yeah, it's my
Like
fault.
somebody will be telling me things,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say a 2-word
Mm-hmm.
thing.
And internally it'll be like...
Yeah. And I blame you.
Yeah, it's my fault. It is so hard to click on things.
Yeah, but you love every second of it.
I do.
Okay, I should get down, have some coffee, and then go shopping.
Get up, and
anyway,
get down.
You need to send me money, I think, right?
I did.
Oh.
I hate you, May. You have all of my money, always.
I love you. By the way, I got your weekly email, like, I opened it up and there's you on the toilet.
Do you remember that?
Yes! Oh. Are you going to release those videos?
They're on YouTube. You just have to know where to look. So anybody who responds to that email can have
Even
the
me?
forbidden link.
Even me?
Yes, even you. But you have to answer the email. If you don't answer the email, I'm not giving you shit.
Oh, wow. I do like to get it, so I will.
Oh
answer the
my,
email.
get the fuck out of here. I am trying to work, woman. I apologize for my wife. Hello?
Author's note. This book's ending is, in a lot of ways, much darker than the ending of Darkfire, which is the book that's generated the most angry reader emails up to this point. So, in lieu of acknowledgments, I feel the need to leave my first author's note in the Underrealm novels. From the beginning, Underrealm was meant to be a place that was different from the worlds of most fantasy, a place where prejudice and inequality haven't been removed, they were never there in the first place. Well, except for income inequality, which is the only form of discrimination I've ever been able to wrap my head around. I mean, I can put myself in the headspace of a rich man and see how the thought process works. I have more money and have the ability to do more things, therefore I am better than the people with less money. They're not right, but I get it. Whereas I simply do not and cannot and likely will never understand the mindset of the man who thinks he's better than women because he's got more vulnerabilities below the waist, or the white person who thinks they're better because their ancestors were exposed to less direct sunlight. Anyway, a world without racism meant there was no reason the oldest and most prestigious family in Underrealm, the Yarans, couldn't be predominantly black. It meant that the colonizers who came and established their kingdom in Underrealm could be roughly equivalent to Asian, the quotes being used because, of course, Asia does not exist. It meant that while some kingdoms were more likely to produce people who looked a certain way, no one made assumptions or was surprised when a black person came from Hedgemond, a Middle Eastern person from Feldamar, or anything else. Again, big quotes about Middle Eastern. You get the idea. A world without sexism meant that women were not considered lesser when it came to property, inheritance, or succession. It meant that king and queen had to be gender-neutral titles. To me, it also meant that birth control and abortion were freely available and state-subsidized. And from that, it followed naturally, in my mind anyway, that sex work would not only not be criminal, but it would be state-protected. Some have assumed that this developed in the reverse sequence, and I can say definitively here that it did not. A world without LGBTQIA+ discrimination was very easy to create in some ways. In others, it still challenges me. It was easy to write characters who were utterly unfazed when they discovered a friend was gay or bisexual. But was it a problem not to use the words gay and bisexual? Why did I want to avoid them anyway? The answer is because I try to keep my language as old-timey as possible to create a certain mood, and those words are incredibly recent in the lexicon. No matter how I tried, they felt anachronistic. And in the end, I determined that a society that never saw homosexuality and bisexuality as wrong would likely not have invented words to describe them when love already existed. Or sex, for that matter. It was easy to write a trans character. It was even easy to determine how a trans person in Underrealm would transition. For the curious among you, there is an order of very high-powered alchemists who can turn a person's body from one gender to another. They're almost a sort of charity, so they perform the service for free, and they have temples in every kingdom. But if that happened early in a character's life, how could I reveal to the reader that they were trans, without some convoluted info dump about their early lives that would have felt shoved into the story? Some of you are already rolling your eyes at the dumb cis guy, and I apologize profusely because, of course, now, years later, I have realized the easiest solution: just write a trans main character, you idiot. I'm sorry, I still have a long way to go, and I am going to do that in the very, very near future. And by the way, while I'm scribbling down this note, let me take the opportunity to be explicit about a few things, to use some words people in Underrealm would never use, and to spell out the sexualities and gender identities of some people who haven't had a reason to talk about it yet. Lauren is bisexual. Jordell was bisexual. Jem is gay. High King Enelin is a trans woman and bisexual. Lilith and Theron from the Academy Journals are gay. Like, super gay. You definitely didn't need me to tell you that one, if you've read the books. Perrin Arcus from the Academy Journals is a trans woman. Matami Drayden from the Academy Journals was gay. Adara from the Academy Journals is pansexual and polyamorous. That's what I've got right now, at least for major characters. I'm still learning. I'm not entirely certain whether Lauren is bisexual or pansexual, for example. And maybe she isn't either. Identities shift and change over time. People learn more about themselves. They grow, they change. A lot of these labels are new. Some were invented or twisted to make people feel worse. Some were invented to help people understand themselves a little bit better. I'm spelling them out here only because I've decided that none of the labels belong in Underrealm, but the characters' identities still exist, just as they've always existed throughout human history. If that's a bad decision on my part, I truly apologize, though I hope this at least makes it clear why I decided to do it. And if I've missed any characters, I apologize again. But the ones listed above are the big ones, and the ones readers absolutely... But the ones listed above are the big ones, and the ones readers absolutely don't get unless something explicit happens in the story.
Oh, thanks, Jim.
Seriously,
Honestly, now, especially because this book was written before I'd published any other authors, right? The Chronicles hadn't happened and Cloak of Red hadn't happened. And when I was working on those books, with a variety of the authors, they specifically said, they were like, I really just prefer the term queer. And I was like, really? They were like, yeah. Like, honestly, I don't like the alphabet soup. I don't mind people who, like, people can use it if they want to, but I just prefer queer. So now I've just started being like, all right, well, the books are queer. Because, the story, like, every author who's in that community prefers just the queer community. So I'm like, all right, cool. These are super queer books then.
Seriously, I tried to establish Lauren as bisexual right from Nightblade. I tried to describe her attraction to Auntie when they first met. But everyone read, instead, that Lauren was terrified. Was that my fault as a writer? Or did readers make assumptions based on the quote-unquote default? I don't know. A little bit of both, probably. And so in Weremage, I decided to make things about as explicit as I could without having her cheat on Chet. Which brings us to the whole reason I wanted to write this note in the first place. That scene with Chet and Auntie. A necessary part of ending gender discrimination is ending sexual violence. It's incredibly common, it ruins lives, and at least in our world, it is skewed heavily against women, though it happens.
Hello again, my wife. What in God's name has happened?
I actually don't know. I spaced out and walked in here.
You don't...
I did something that I had to do this morning, and then I walked in here on autopilot.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure everybody's done that before.
Uh-huh.
Walk into an office they don't ever go into unless they have to kiss their husband.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I do that all the time.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you.
Though it happens to men too. Anyone who says otherwise or tries to erase that is a really terrible person. Also, our society seems wildly uninterested in doing anything about it. Most victims aren't believed, even if they do come forward with their story. Those who are believed often can't win court cases. It's a giant mess that makes me furious every time I think about it. It made sense to me that a world like Underrealm would hold rape as the highest of crimes, punishable by immediate execution, the High King's harshest law, as horrific to them as torturing toddlers to death would be to us, and therefore just as rare. Not only was it an important world-building point, but it helped me as a writer. It meant that I could avoid sexual violence in my books. That would make them much more accessible to those who are frequently turned off by the shocking amount of rape in genre fiction. A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones series, is a well-known culprit, but Martin is by no means the only author to do it. He might not even be the worst one. Other men do it with shocking regularity and an almost vindictive glee. Even women authors participate, though usually not so much or so ham-fistedly. It's a contributing factor towards fantasy being seen as a male-dominated genre, which it's not, by the way, but I wanted no part of it. But I knew from the very beginning of Lauren's story, the very start of Underrealm, that I couldn't completely avoid sexual violence. I had to say one thing about it first. and that is that most of the time, male fantasy authors can't write it for shit. Rape is treated as a plot twist, a scintillating motivation for a male character who it didn't happen to, or even character development on the part of the woman it did happen to. Because it almost always happens to women in books, doesn't it? Men are supposed to be more powerful than that. A hideous idea that's not even a full step short of victim blaming. The first thing I knew was that my one instance of sexual violence would happen to a man, and I had a suspicion it should happen to the love interest of the main character to truly flip the roles and hopefully make a few male readers uncomfortable. We need to be made uncomfortable more often. And since it was the worst crime in Underrealm, it had to be done by someone who was irredeemably evil, abusive to the point of no return. And that is when Auntie was born. Yes, that is why the character was created in the first place. It's why she was the way she was in Nightblade and in this book. From the very beginning, this was her purpose. A horrible person who cares for nothing but her own satisfaction and who takes joy from the suffering of others. That's what a rapist is. Full stop. Otherwise, they could never enjoy themselves in the face of the pain or sometimes unconsciousness of their victims. And there's one more aspect of this I wanted to touch on. The aftermath. Because even if it only happens once, sexual violence can last for the rest of the victim. Even if it only happens once.
It's a weird-ass click. What the hell is that? The fuck is this you?
Once.
It is you.
Once. Sexual violence.
There's another little guy in here.
Sexual violence. Once. Sexual violence.
I know that I'm overthinking things like that, but I can't let it go. Breaks my brain. Yeah, totally. Different tools for different problems, for sure. I learned audio editing on Pro Tools, and I worked on a full Pro Tools rig in a sound studio for a number of years. And Pro Tools is so much better for editing, for actual like editing, moving files around and everything like that. It's beyond bonkers. But Pro Tools doesn't have as good click healing as Audition does. I obviously can't afford a full Pro Tools rig. Otherwise, I would totally use it for editing purposes. But it actually kind of works out because now the only thing that I really use Audition for is for handling clicks, which it is bonkers good at.
Because even if it only happens once, sexual violence can last for the rest of the victim's life. Most books never go into that. Most movies won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It happens to the girl, her guy goes on a revenge tear, and in the end the credits roll over a world where all is happy again. That is sexual violence, as viewed by men who don't know, don't care to know, and would rather not confront the reality staring them in the face. So there you have it. For some, this explanation will not be sufficient. It will not mitigate the fact that that scene was included at all. And if that's the case for you, I don't blame you. I won't apologize for writing it, but I am sorry for any negative effects it may have had. And to wrap up, I will promise these two things. That's the only such scene I'll write in an Underrealm book, and the aftermath will be written with as much realism as I can muster. If that's not enough, I get it, but it's all I've got. As always, thank you for reading. I'm writing the next book, Yeren, and I gotta tell you, the world does get better. Not that everything is happy-go-lucky puppies and rainbows, how could it be? Yeren will have dark moments, and it's the end of the second trilogy, so it'll have a killer ending. But I promise we'll have at least some fun first. Because that is another truth. no matter how dark things get during our worst moments, the world can be bright after. So I'll see you in a brighter world. Love, Garrett.
Nice. I'm not familiar with Digital Performer.
Epilogue. A light snow had only just begun to fall, and it dusted the Yeren camp. Damaris's tent was fine, more than fine enough to keep her head warm and dry. But she had eschewed that shelter to drink in the frozen air. She took deep breaths, standing to the north of the camp, only vaguely aware of the guards who stood close to hand. Her gaze lingered on the Dortian landscape that...
So my worst clicks are on SL or sibilants and then L noises. See that big old click right there?
Her gaze lingered on the Dortian landscape that they had been traversing for the last several days. "Do you pursue me, Nightblade?" she thought. "That is good. Follow me. Follow me and never stop. Let me draw you to your doom." A shout came from behind her, and she whirled on the spot. Her guards drew closer and unsheathed their blades. Damaris's heart skipped a beat as a figure emerged from the camp. His form was in silhouette, rimmed by the firelight, but she knew him, not only from his size, but from the way he moved, every little quirk of motion that had accompanied her on all the long roads of her life, since they were both children. The guards fell away before him. "Gregor," she sighed. He fell to one knee at her feet, bowing his head. "My lady," he said. His voice was thick with emotion, and he hid his face from her, as well as the guards to either side. Damaris glanced at them. "Leave us," she said. They obeyed at once, marching back towards the camp. "Rise, my friend," she said, taking his shoulders and lifting him up. "Sky above, I have missed you more than I can say." She drew him into an embrace for a moment only, but it was enough that she could feel him shaking. "I should never have left you," he said. "If anything had happened at Uwamba, I would have taken my own life the moment I had slain the vermin who had harmed you." "Left me?" said Damaris wryly. She did not smile, but she let her eyes crinkle with amusement. "If you will recall, I ordered you to remain upon the seat." "And I failed you there as well," he said. "I could not secure the support you require, and then a boy—" She raised a hand, and he fell silent at once. "I know," she said smoothly. "I have heard all the tale of it already, and I do not blame you, Greg. I have heard all—"
Why is there a pop on heard? I guess it's the H.
"I have heard all—"
And this is the other thing Audition is real good at. See that pop? Boom. Gone.
"I have heard all the tale of it already." "And I do not blame you, Gregor. We are stretched thin, you and I, and we will not win every battle. All that matters is that we win more of them than we lose." "We will, my lady," said Gregor, bowing his head once more. "I swear it." "I believe you," said Damaris. "And the next confrontation swiftly approaches. Something happened at the Battle of Welmont." "A rumor only," said Gregor. She fixed him with a look. "It is not a rumor." His eyes did not widen, nor did his brows shift by so much as a hair. Yet from a pace away she could feel his whole body go rigid. "Then, are we to make our way east?" "Not yet," said Damaris, sighing. "At least not while hounds nip at our heels. I am being followed." "I have heard." Gregor's voice rumbled with fury. His fists, each almost as large as her head, coiled by his sides. "The girl." "The Nightblade of the High King, you mean," said Damaris, letting her mockery emerge plain in her tone. "I will take a party. We will come upon them in the night and destroy them." "No, no, that will not do at all. Lauren herself played no small role in the Battle of Welmont, though she cannot possibly have learned what has occurred because of it. Yet we will ensure she comes to regret it." Damaris's eyes narrowed as she remembered the storeroom in Uwamba, where Lauren had dumped her like a sack of flour with her wrists bound together. And she remembered the boy Lauren's age who had been there with her. Damaris had seen the look in Lauren's eyes when she beheld him. It sent a lance of vicious joy through her, and her breath quickened. "And when we are sure she is well acquainted with the deepest pits of sorrow, then, Gregor, you may do what I should have ordered the moment we first laid eyes upon her. Then you may kill her."
Dun, dun, dun. Good. So you see your narration first pass of the file, just edit without listening to it. And all the breathing at once, then I listen to catching a mistake I made. Been trying to spot fix explosives too. A bit more aggressive with them. Hit the ones that are really loud. Now, honestly, Jim, I am so happy with the editing that I would I would be very hesitant to ask you to change or do anything different. Because I don't want to mess with a good thing. If that makes sense. Epilogue. Epilogue. No, I think the de-essing is fine where it's at. Epilogue. Okay, and then we have the end credits. Audiobooks. Shadowborn. Oh, hi, Lauren. Oh, hi, Lauren. How's your sex life? I don't know if anybody out there watches Critical Role, but in Campaign 3, Matt just introduced a new character whose voice and mannerisms are based off of Tommy Wiseau from The Room, and it is giving me life. It is so goddamn amazing, and I love it to death forever. All right, I'm gonna refill my coffee while the new audition session opens up. Be right back. Oof. this thing is taking forever to open. I guess it is a pretty big session. It's like the last 8 chapters of Shadeborn or something like that. Hey Jim, have you seen the new cover yet? Check this out. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure it's the right file. Yeah, there we go. Isn't this amazing? Here, I'll size it down so you can see it a little bit better. That's the wraparound art for the next cover. There they are. My Avengers. I can't wait to narrate the next 2 books so that I can finally get back to writing that book. I'm pretty close on the outline. But I've got some narrating to do first. Nope, not you. You. Wait, what the hell? Why will you not paste for me, please? Please, Audition, please just do what you're supposed to do. Oh, because it's not... That's weird. Wait, but...
I still haven't had coffee. I'm gonna go down and get it.
It doesn't really surprise me.
My love.
My dear, my darling.
Can you mute for a minute?
Yeah, 1 sec, stream. All right. Oh, I forgot, didn't I? I sure did.
This is the end.
Oh my god! Why are you so loud? dive, huh?
This is the end of Weremage, but the story continues with Yeren, the 6th book in the Nightblade epic. Find Yeren and all the works of Underrealm at underrealm.net/books. Published by Legacy Books. Written...
Bit of a pop.
/books. Published by Legacy Books. Written and narrated by Garrett Robinson. Edited by Karen Conlin. Audio editing by Jim Wilborn.
It's you. That's correct. All right, now I have to pick a retail sample, which I do always struggle with to some extent. But I think in this case, what do I want? Okay. This scene with Zane should be nice. Chapter 7.
dearie me. Ask every once in a while, or ask before her. Zane, she breathed. This is you are at your core. That is, when you are not being a colossal. Join me. You are further along than I am. Her knowing. She only caught me twice. Thank you, Karog, said Zane graciously as he led Lauren within.
All right, Jim, good to see you.
After the door slammed shut behind them, he smirked. She has hated me ever since I was a student. I would sneak in here often without her knowing. She only caught me twice, but she never forgave me. She is horrid, said Lauren, and age has not improved her. But I am the dean, and no longer need to care about such things. Come, and let me show you one of my favorite places. Looking up. Come, and let me show you one of my favorite places. Looking up, Lauren saw that they were in a great circular tower, and then she realized that it was the Academy's bell tower.
Nice retail sample indeed. Oof. Retail sample uploaded. Retail sample uploaded. Holy shit. We done. Yeah, I understand. I approve. Submit. Submit. Done. Hey, what's up, Ethan? Holy shit. Nice. Well, thanks for swinging by, Beep End. Good to see you. What's 19 plus 16? 35. All right. Well. Well.
Father,
Yes, my son.
this is not a negotiating thing, and it's not about video games at all.
Okay. I love how this is beginning.
Wait, what was I gonna say?
I don't know. What were you going to say?
It was something about... Well, I love you, and I forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay. Love you too. Close my door, please. Okay. I need my laptop I think that the rest of this morning is going to be getting the Yeren manuscript fully ready for recording, which it is not currently. All right, let me go get my laptop. I will be right back. All right, be right back. Oof. Oh my god, fuck off. Hey, what's up, KJ Jones? I'm doing great. How are you doing? Aw. Well, I hope you enjoy the reread, KJ. Okay, that manuscript is ready now. I think that's actually where I'm going to call it for today. Because I can't really record with my family trundling about the house the way they are. Oh man, well then I really hope you enjoy it, KJ. The most recent book, Life Mage Dawning, I'm very extremely proud of. So I hope that you enjoy it. Oh my god, Twitch, why are you doing this to me? I'm going to throw a raid over to Cipher of Tyr. She is a fantastic TTRPG creator, streamer, and just an all-around awesome person who's out there fighting the good fight for a better world. We love her, so say hi to her for me. KJ, I really hope that you enjoy the read. Feel free to pop in anytime and let me know how it's going, or shoot me an email or whatever. It'll be good to hear from you. In other words, say hi to Cypher for me, and I am off to start my work day. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Beep End, KJ Jones, and of course the inimitable Jim Wilburn, as well as Yasaya, or Yasia, one of those two. Peace out, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Well, here are the crates we were looking for.
Something seems off.
It's a trap!
Logan, thank you for the...
They're gonna kill me!
No. No, it didn't. Hello. What are you up to? How's the audio editing going?
Don't let me die here.
Where are they? All right.